Welcome back to Not Alone. Today's guest is the most humble man that I ever met. He would never like to say that he's a successful entrepreneur. He once owned a business and never even said he was the owner. But this is why I love podcasting and having these type of guests, because I do feel they need to be in front of the camera. Because his story of stepping into foster home, growing up with a dad in prison, but persevered through all these adversities, and that anger, how he used anger to change systems. And that's where we can pivot and use anger to good. He's also a mentor and a friend, and today's conversation, I hope, will inspire you to know that your story, your beginnings, or what teachers told you, what parents told you, doesn't need to become who you are. You get to choose your own story. Tyler Uria Copenhaver Heath is my guest today. And he chose, even though he was told, you're not smart, to pick the hardest degree out there as a biochemist. And this is where it's going to inspire you. He wants to inspire the underdog and learn how he did that, how he persevered from poverty to successful entrepreneur, to owning this studio, backlot studio here. He's been mentoring me in front of the camera. And he's a dear friend. And thank you for taking the time today to be my guest.
Oh, it's such an honor, and thank you so much for the intro. I was getting goosebumps a little bit. I appreciate the nice words.
Yes.
Always love our conversation, so really looking forward to being here today.
I know. We always, after our podcast, we always can talk forever. So I love that I was like, I need you on my podcast because you have quite the story, and I know you are incredibly humble. I mean, even when you talk to me, you kind of, when I first met you, you barely shared some of your successes and who you truly are. But I know from my heart, when I was kind of deciding where I'm going to continue my podcast, how I'm going to, become a better speaker in front of the camera, there was something in me that I knew it was you. And I didn't know all your accolades. I didn't know anything, but I just knew that feeling that I had. It was almost like a remembrance when I met you. I even said, hey, you look familiar.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
And I think it was just that. It was just, I've learned that as a gift, I'm really attuned to energies. And I think it was a heart coherence. It was something like, it was a yes, this is who I'm supposed to work with. And you have been that person. You've really helped me become more comfortable in front of the camera, communicating, and you really believe in what I'm trying to do as well with this podcast, which ultimately is, sometimes I feel there's shame when you show that you're doing some good things, right? They're like, oh, that's how I thought about social media for a really long time.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm done with social media, and you shouldn't be posting that you're helping the poor, or you shouldn't be showing all this. But then at the same time, once I started becoming more, prevalent on social media because of my book, I realized I could reach so many more people.
Yeah.
I can help so many people. So I shifted how I looked at it, and I shifted because God really wanted me to open this podcast, to start. It's been a year now.
Yeah.
It's been a year since he planted that seed, because I had so many people that would never be in front of the camera sharing these stories with me. And I thought, we need to share more around, so people are not feeling alone. Or how, from you, spending some time in foster care, living in poverty, having a father that is in prison. And I don't know much about your mother and her role in your life, but how did that shape you, starting out from childhood and to where you are now as a successful entrepreneur? You could have easily, what's the stat that you said about kids that are born with a parent in prison?
It's like 90%. Like that
it repeats itself.
Like if your parent was in prison, 90% chance you're going to. So it might even be higher than that. I can't remember off the top of my head. I have used it before, but yeah, it's crazy.
So tell us a little bit, your upbringing, about the foster care experience and how that felt when
Yeah.
put in foster care.
There's so much there. And like, I was talking to a friend of mine at the gym this morning, and it was like, if you're not embarrassed of your 20-year-old self, you haven't grown in life. Right. And so, like, I like think to the person I was as a kid, and like, I appreciate the kind-heartedness and the work ethic that I've always had. But, there's a certain, and this is where I really like to be helpful in a lot of ways. Like, God is putting me where I'm supposed to be, it's like evil has no problem using this tool. Like, more good people need to use it, right?
Yes.
And I went through the same process that most people do trying to utilize that, right? It's like, but I think like, and you analyze yourself, after 44 years or whatever, I'm like, why was I so afraid of the camera? Why was I so afraid of talking? And it's like, but when you grow up and you're told, by your parents that like, hey, we're not allowed to say where we're moving tomorrow. We're not allowed to talk about this thing. You watch your dad your whole life speak in code over the telephone, it's like, and you have to be really careful about telephone conversations and things like that. It's like, no wonder I was afraid of it,
Yes.
And so like,
communication wasn't safe.
Exactly.
Like, the truth wasn't safe.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and like I was, kind of lost as a kid. I always had a work ethic. I'm lucky for that. I started working when I was 13 years old. I worked for the manager of our apartment complex. And then like but I didn't care about school. And then I got a bad rap because of my father being in prison. My mom also was a big partier, had a horrible boyfriend, and they would smoke cigarettes nonstop. So when I went to school, I smelled like smoke, and everybody assumed that I was a smoker. I've still never had a cigarette in my entire life, but I got prejudged quickly, right? And so then I wasn't treated well in school. I'm sure that didn't help me want to like try to do better, And it's like, but there was a long period of time in my life where I was like, yeah, they're right. I'm a shithead. That's what I'm going to be in life. And I would love to have the magic ticket that turned it all around for me, because I narrowly avoided being that stat. It was really close. But everything that I've been given in life, even the bad stuff, has all led to like this moment now, right? I needed every part of it, and especially the bad stuff. You mentioned the foster care system. I didn't spend a long amount of time there, but I spent just enough time to feel that heart, so to speak, that had me volunteering, at the children's home. And it was actually the children's home, volunteering there for 5 years, in the animal shelter, that led me to the camera, because God was telling me that I need you to do more. And I was telling everybody, like, I wouldn't even tell my girlfriend at the time that I was volunteering at the children's home. Didn't tell people I was volunteering at the animal shelter. I was trying to be this humble person,
Yeah. Well, why do you think that? Was there some, like, you felt that
I think the world...
You're trying to be boastful if you talk about it, or what did you...
I think this is where Christianity is wrong, and maybe the preachings of Christianity are wrong to some extent. And then I also think that I think that it's evil's presence telling people good to be humble.
Oh my gosh. I got goosebumps right now. I don't want to interrupt you, but I literally was at church, and they were talking about social media and posting when you're doing good thing, and don't post. Yeah. And of course I take offense because that's what I do.
Yeah.
But I use it for good. And you're right. They make it look at like that's a sin. You shouldn't be. I mean, I get it. You should do internal work and prayer and whatnot. But what if I showed me praying with my son?
Yeah.
Maybe I could inspire another parent to do that with their children.
You're dead right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it. So I love that you mentioned that I think sometimes, religion, they kind of shame that. Mm-hmm. Because I literally sat in church. I'm like, even my son, who's 10 years old, he's like, I didn't really like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't either.
It's selfish, actually. There's been so many moments in my life, drawing to my mind right now, at the top of my mind, I remember I went to one of my employees' weddings, right? And I was very quiet about my company. If you asked about where I worked, I'd just tell you I worked there. I never told you I owned the place and, things like that. And I think it's because I always admired that little old person on the far corner of the world that was doing all this good and you never heard about until they passed, It's like, but like just one instance, but I'm at this wedding of one of my employees, and the guy's grandpa turns behind me and he goes, "Hey, how do you know my grandson?" And I'm like, I work with him. He's the most incredible worker. He has such a good work ethic and great personality. And it's like, he thought I was a coworker, right? Mm-hmm. because I wouldn't say I own the business. And now I get sad to this day. I should have told grandpa that I own the company, because how much more would that have meant to grandpa?
So true.
That I said that as the owner instead of a coworker.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yes.
And I get goosebumps saying it, because that was being selfish. Here I think I'm being humble, I'm being selfish, you know? Or I've met some of the biggest founders of charities in the world. They don't want to post on social media, you know? And I have to tell them, I'm like, what's more important? You know, you and what people are going to think of you because you make this post online, or you save a couple more kids in the world.
Yeah, see it
and the
more in
answer's
God's
simple.
way, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're doing it with your heart and you're trying to do good, then the intent is out there. It's not for like, oh, I want to make, like for you, you are the successful entrepreneur. You want to make more. You want to make even more money, because then you can change the system. Like you said, it's changing the system of foster care, or help bullied kids, and sharing your story today can inspire someone that was raised in poverty and or being told they were stupid, and you end up getting the hardest and successful education, and saying you chose to change all of that,
and a lot of that comes from, okay, so I kept asking, I wasn't Mark Zuckerberg, right? I didn't get the chance. Okay, you want Tyler, you want a McDonald's or you want to go to Harvard? It's like, which one do you want? How am I supposed to look up to Mark Zuckerberg, when that's his options? And then so many of the big people that make it, they have options like that. So where's the person for me to look up to? And it came down to, like, I looked at the stat, well, 90% of them aren't making it. And the 10% are, that they're good-hearted people that are too humble to say that they've made it, right? And then there's no trail for me to follow, right? That's why people that make it have to talk about it. And when I'm talking charity too, I'm not talking if you give somebody $20 on the street, you should film that. No, but it's selfish if you go 5 years to the children's home where you absolutely believe in what they're doing. I mean, out there at Sunshine Acres, you donate your furniture. You donate your furniture, and that funds the home. Shame on me for never saying anything, because how many people would be donating their furniture there if they knew about it? How many friends would have wanted to come with me? How many people would have brought awareness to the foundation? It's like, if you're going to do one act of charity, keep it quiet. If you're passionate about an organization, it is selfish not to bring it out in the world. And your business, that matter too. It's like, you want to take care of your employees, you want to bring yourself more success, you have to be on the camera. And this was a long period of time trying to figure this out. And what I came down to is like, you know what? Evil has no problem using the camera. Why are we teaching good to be humble?
Yes. Yeah. And I still wonder, like, what was that guilt? I know you said it wasn't safe to communicate, but do you think also, because you were becoming successful, you knew so many maybe people that you knew didn't. So was there a guilt that you were successful now, that you've made it? Or
I think there's always that imposter syndrome. And then, like, when do you ever feel like you made it? I don't remember. I remember I wanted my success so bad, because everybody counted me out. Like, there wasn't a single person that believed in me, it's like, and then I got mad about it, and I think that's okay. I got mad that the head of the school growing up told me I was stupid. I'd never amount to anything. I'd be just like my dad. I got mad about that finally. And then that was what caused me to make such great leaps in my life, But then when I finally had something that people saw that was like, oh, that's amazing. Look at you. You're like doing something awesome. You could, like, I even have a hard time calling the word success now, because what is success? When is success? But it's like, I almost wanted to get hit by a bus in that moment. I was so afraid of losing what I finally worked so hard to get. I was like, okay, if I disappeared that day, it's like, and so that was where a transition came in my mind too, where success became less for me and proving I'm wrong, and came more about, like, when you have success, it allows you to change things, right?
Yes.
It's like, that's where the change really came from, is like facing that fear. And, like, I could go into the story more, but it's like, God put me in this path and he didn't give me any choice on it, right? Like, I fought God for years over this. I was like, no.
How did you find God, by the way? If we backtrack, like, how did you find faith? Like, when did he come into your life and guide you? Or was he always
it's always been somewhat of a presence of mine in my life. It's like, I was raised Baptist, and then parents are Christians, and so parents are wacky too, don't get me wrong. But, it's like, I try to look at the good things in life, and I take away the things that I think you can take from people, right? Like my parents, like incredible hearted people, you know, like they're still around. I don't want to say anything bad about them, you know, whatsoever, because I love them. They're good hearted people.
And they shape who you are today.
Sure.
Right?
They made a ton of mistakes and they probably shouldn't have had kids, right? And so
but you wouldn't be here.
I wouldn't be here, you know, and I learned from their mistakes too, you know, and so I got my love of animals from my mom. I'm sure some of those deep-seated beliefs were, you know, from them too, imprinted. And then I've, you know, had a close relationship. You know, I do my boxing workout in the morning, and then I lift weights, and then I stretch and I pray every morning, you know.
Yeah, I love that.
And
you say you don't drink, you have no caffeine, and
no,
you're like
my biggest guilty pleasure is chocolate cake, you know.
Ooh,
and
I do
so
like
other than that, I'm pretty focused on what I want to accomplish. But yeah, it's a big part of my life, and like I feel myself, I've rebelled against, you know, like what I think is right and what I'm feeling, you know, destined to do. And so like even at the children's shelter, I lifted furniture. That's all they had for me to do on Saturdays, right? And the animal shelter, I lifted huge dogs while they were asleep in the clinic, you know, and so while they were asleep from neutering surgery. And so I used my body, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't tell anybody about it, you know, and then I kept feeling compelled. It's just like, this is not what I want you to do. You have so many more talents than using your physical body. But I kept using my physical body to give, right? Okay. And then one day I'm out at the children's home, and they used to always save the biggest, heaviest furniture for me. I went to lift a piece of furniture, and it broke my back.
Oh, wow.
And that took everything out of me that I loved. I used to train 27 times a week. You know, it's like it took that away. I had another medical issue. I was rebelling against that one still, and I had another medical issue. And then I was like, finally, okay, right? Mm-hmm. It was like,
finally
okay.
Listening, yeah.
Saw a documentary on bullied kids, broke my heart. I'm lucky enough to have a fair amount of empathy and a fair amount of anger, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I finally like risked something I was so afraid of. Which, by the way, I want to add here, if I could, it's like there's two ways to know if you're going to really grow in life. Is if your heart is in the right place and you fear it. Because if those two, like you check those two boxes, you have to do whatever that thing is. So in that moment, for me, it was starting a podcast for bullied kids. So it's my mixed martial arts training partner. And we would basically interview people that had been bullied, that became successful adults, to show kids there was light at the end of the tunnel. And that changed my life so much. We ended up purchasing the studio I used to record in. I ended up seeing the value from a business and a good standpoint, because more good voices need to be in the world, saying good things. And I love supporting people. And I feel that's like my place in life.
Yeah, because you do help a lot of people.
I do help a lot of people.
Because you have the marketing sense, the business sense, you know, and because you, like you said, building your businesses, you made all the mistakes along the way. So you're helping, you know, other entrepreneurs not to make those mistakes, right? And, but you said sometimes you get hurt by that, right? Because it's a lot of voluntary time that you put in, and then you feel you're not recognized for what you've given them, you know?
It's tough, even giving, you know, it's like I've tried so many different ways to be helpful. You know, it's like I started a technology company that they still have. It's called Glaive. And the idea is it levels the playing field for small businesses. People like myself that had no rich uncle teaching them, you know, the greater parts of business, you know, that sort of stuff. And then like by extension, we opened the studio to market that business. But the studio became just such this like tool for good, you know, good voices like yours. And it's like, that's why I kind of told some of my story in getting to it, is because a lot of the greatest people, and I'm not saying that every good person like struggles with it. There's good people that don't struggle with this, but I find there's a fair amount of good people that really struggle with this. And it's important for them to put their messaging out in the world.
Yes,
you know, it's like that humble thing, right? It's like I've sat down with amazing people like you. They're like, I don't know if it should be my voice. And maybe this isn't like me being humble, and, you know, all these different things. I've sat down with professional football players that don't think they're good enough, you know, to have a podcast. You know, it's like I've sat down with, you know, like heads of charities, you know, it's like all kinds of amazing people that fear the same thing.
Yes.
Right.
But same way for me. I'm like, oh, do I continue or do I not? You know, but I really do love it. And I'm like, these stories are so important. And I have to change the way I see it. It's not about the numbers, you know, all the time. It's what if I reach one person to change their perspective? And I really they really got inspired by one episode that they listened to. And that's a gift.
It's so it's like I struggle with it too. It's like my account got really diminished when I started talking about foster care. It's like I put out the stat that it's like now I'm forgetting it a little bit, but it's something like 80% of the people on death row in California are from the foster care system, and 60% of people in the foster care system are sex trafficked. That's crazy. Yeah. And I started bringing that up online, and my accounts were diminished because of it. So to your point, I spent all this time, growing audience and stuff like that. Now they don't see most of what I put out.
Because there's a censorship,
Sure.
Yeah.
And I've got to remind myself, it's like, do you know how many times I've had somebody in my DMs say, because of something you said last week is the real reason I'm still on this planet.
And you have to say, because right now I listen to some of your bullying podcasts.
Yeah.
And it's still there. People can still find it.
Yeah.
You never know. You're still helping. And that's the way I see it. This could be years down the road, as long as Spotify and Apple, podcast stays live, it's going to be there.
It's evergreen. And kindness and helping and like caring, those are never going to go away. At least I don't want to live in society that they do, right? I actually think they're only growing. I think it's getting cool to be kind, and I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And I think it is important to know that and to change the system, but also the bullying. I really liked you brought the awareness only because it touched my heart a little. My son, I could see him being bullied, and I think a lot of it, I don't know, after guests that you've had, do you find it that it was a lot of their self-worth, as a young child, and the way their thoughts about themselves?
What's so amazing is it turns out to be their superpower. Usually what they were picked on as a kid turned out to be that thing that made them amazing when they grew up. And like, I always try to bring it home to people too when we start that show. So I'll choose a celebrity that you would have never thought in a million years was bullied. Right. So I'll tell the story, and then Cliff always gets it wrong unless he cheats and looks at my notes. Like, who do you think this was? And I'll tell this bullying story, and then he'll be like, whoever. But a lot of times it's Tom Cruise or Lady Gaga or Chris Rock. It's like those people all, because of being bullied as kids, are why they're superstars now. And it came to this conclusion for me. It's like, these are the ability to overcome adversity is the key indicator of success. Hands down. There's no bigger one, right? Doesn't matter what that adversity is really either. And so bullying is a form of adversity that they're overcoming. So the problem is we need the people overcoming adversity to make it, There's Arizona's the teen suicide capital of the country.
Wow.
We don't talk about that on the podcast, but what we're really trying to do is avoid people hurting themselves, right? Because these are the most amazing people in the world that grow up to do the amazing things. Yeah. So we're not just helping a bullied kid. We're probably helping the next heart surgeon that saves, like some sort of major issue that's going on with hearts, So
how do we keep them, from spiraling down to those thoughts? And I think a lot of it is stemming to their thoughts that spiral, what those limiting beliefs that maybe somebody have told them. And they replay that and start believing it. So if we can start shifting, helping them, especially youth, going into schools and start mindfulness, and these tools to be mindful and become aware of their thoughts and how diverse, if you were raised with a father that wasn't around, or, just even my son last night, he's like, oh, I miss dad. But he remembered it. It was interesting. He remembered some things dad would do. And I was like, oh, he remembers that. Like, he was pretty young,
Yeah.
And it's still there and it's still spiraling in his mind. And I was like, well, I need to work with him on that. And so I do feel like it'd be so important in school programs, or I've been trying to get him into jiu-jitsu, because I know that can empower them to feel that strength, that confidence. And I think that's really important for kids.
It's so crazy because it's like, when you set out to help with something, you actually learn so much about yourself. It's amazing how much, like, you set out to do this podcast, how much has it helped you?
Oh, every time I have a guest on,
yeah,
I was like, oh, there was a message for me.
Yeah.
There was a message, or I learned so much about people and adversity. And a lot of it, what I've learned, because I'm curious in nature about the body and how it works in the mind. And of course, after my husband died by suicide, I got so curious. I'm like, okay, how come I didn't fall?
Yeah.
He did. And how come I couldn't reach him? And there's some people I can really reach, but sometimes you can't. No matter what I said, no matter what I did, I couldn't reach him. Why? Yeah. So I got really curious. And And that is, I have kind of lost my train of thought now, but what did you ask?
No, the point was, it's like, so by thinking you're going to go out and help people,
Yes.
you actually help yourself. And it's amazing
yes.
how much you learn.
Oh my God. Oh yes. I learned so much. Like just on this podcast alone, I learned actually that humans,
Yeah.
the ego mind, we focus so much on the fears, the shame, the guilt, the past,
Yeah.
and then the future.
Yeah.
But I remember when my husband passed, I said, okay, I can't change what just happened, but now I got to live in the now. And I know my kids can't lose their mom now.
Yeah.
They can't be without any parents. So I'm going to choose to focus on now. What do I need to do today? And I just focused on it every day because I couldn't look far beyond another day because it was so overwhelming. What am I going to do? What's going to happen? What's going to happen with our house, our business? And it just spiraled into overwhelmingness. So I said, okay, what's more important? I literally would put a list of like importance that day. And a lot of it was sitting with my kids.
Yeah.
In the emotions. I only had the capacity to be there for my kids. And then when they were back at school, it's like, okay, I utilized that time to do all the logistics that I had to do. But ultimately, it was presence. You know, even now, my circle, of friends, I know so many people.
Yeah.
But the people that I spend time with, I have a small circle.
Sure.
Because I want to, it takes a lot of energy, and I'm still there. God is calling me to do this and calling me to, write these books and start a coaching program. So that takes a lot of my time. And ultimately, then I need to be so present for my kids, right?
That's what's tough too. It's like, your circle is so important, it's like, and your circle can be changing sometimes, it's like, I have a difficult time these days finding a real close circle because not very many people think like I do. I realized,
oh, yes.
and it's like,
yes, you feel like outcasted. That's how I feel sometimes, but that's why I love talking with you because we feel like-minded and we get really passionate about, these kind of topics,
You have to strive for success because you can't help somebody if you can't help yourself. Right. But at the same time, it's tough to find. And I'm blessed because we do the docuseries where we travel to Cambodia and we're working on finding heroes throughout the world.
Yeah. Tell us about this a little bit. You showed me a little trailer yesterday and I was blown away. So.
Yeah. Like we have a 501(c)(3) it's called Content for Good, and Content for Good focuses on a couple of initiatives. What's great is everything we produce here is like good content. We don't have anybody coming in trying to produce a Nazi podcast. It's like people like you that want to help people. Right. Yes. But we also have a charity that specifically goes out and like we use the camera to help the world, right? And so we went over to Cambodia. There's an amazing guy, and he's actually my Michael Jordan in life. I read an article about him probably 10 years ago in the back of a magazine or something, and it basically talked about this man that was a high school dropout, right? And so that like felt to me like, okay, here's a person I can understand because I was nearly a high school dropout, right? And then he works his way up, so he had a work ethic, so I really saw that. He works his way up to president of Fox Films, and he does X-Men, Titanic, Braveheart, and all these mega blockbuster films. And then he goes over to Cambodia. There's a lot more to it, I'm paraphrasing, but he goes over to Cambodia, he sees these kids dying in a trash dump. And he's like, I got to do something about this. So he ends up selling his mansion, his cars, everything he owns. And now he's got 1,700 kids over there that he takes care of their families. He takes care of their education. He's got kids in college now. He is the most amazing man I ever met in my life. Right. When you go to meet your Michael Jordan in life, you're like, Tyler, you better settle down because like, you don't want to get, too much or whatever. And so I go over there and Scott Neeson is that much more of a human being than I could ever thought possible, right? Yeah. And so like showcasing those stories through the camera has become insanely important to me. Yeah. I feel
because he probably wasn't showcasing himself doing that much, right?
No, look at his story and nobody's heard of him, right?
Yeah, I had never before you told me.
Yeah.
And
so like I was lucky that we spent 2 different Januaries going over there, and you have to deal with, that's the thing is like in a foster care home, the animal shelter, visiting Scott, these things. It's like, I only have to deal with the sadness for a couple hours or a month. These people deal, because when you help with something, there's sadness to it. There's hard things to it, right? You got kids in Cambodia that used to be dying in a trash dump of starvation and getting hit by trucks and falling through through, and getting crushed, it's like they deal with that over there, and it's like I was lucky it realigned importance to me. When I would come back every January after that trip, it was like, Tyler, I know why you're working. I know why you're still working, right? Because you have to support people like this in the world. You have to make even more success so you can fund more resources and operations like you're doing now, It's like, but I think a lot of people get lost in the marketing world spends billions of dollars getting us to be unhappy about what shit we can't buy, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's a big game of Monopoly. And like, even me, like last year when I didn't go to Cambodia, I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why am I struggling this year? And I finally realized it's like, Tyler, you didn't realign importance. You didn't remind yourself that there's something more important than collecting a new car, a new house. It's like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not a hippie either. I don't want to starve. I want to be able to start my truck, I want these things in life.
But without guilt, you can have those things.
You can have both.
Yes. Yeah.
I get a lot of hate because one of the things I'll say, I get a lot of hate for a lot of what I say. And like, and maybe it's just because people don't want to hear it, but it's like, if you have a Ferrari and you've never done anything for the world, shame on you. Right?
Yeah, yes.
I started my first business in a dirt lot with no electricity and no running water. If you want to say self-made, that's pretty close, right?
Yeah.
It's like $4,000 that I had in savings, to build the business. It's like, I still don't consider myself self-made because I grew up in this country. This country allows me to work hard, and get whatever I want in life, It's like, and so to say you've made it all yourself and you don't know anything to anybody, it's like, no. And honestly, most of the stories you look at, they had some sort of advantage too.
That's true.
There's not many like mine where it's nothing. And then I get selfish and it's like, okay, maybe, but it's like most of them came from some money, a big break, it's like if there's.
But they're still not happy though.
No.
I've worked for many. I worked on a private jet for many years. And you'd think, okay, I'm working on this private jet. They have private jets. They have helicopters landing to grab them from,
Yeah.
It was such a different caliber of you've made it. But there was still times that I was like, wow, I saw so much sadness. Like, even though in our, growing up, you're like, ooh, this is happiness. This is it. But I learned early on in my early 20s that, whoa, this is not happiness. Yeah, we want a comfortable life. I am so grateful for having a home, my car, my kids going to this wonderful private school.
Yeah.
So grateful that I can afford doing that. Even afford doing this podcast here in a studio instead of my home, right?
Sure.
There's value, but but what I'm using it for.
Yeah.
And I love that you're saying that. Yes, I have these wonderful friends too. They give so much.
Yeah.
They have a lot.
Yeah.
But they give so much as well. And the more I think God gifted them, wealth.
Yeah.
Because he knew they'd use it for good.
That's the people I try to find. And like, I went over to Nigeria one time to help with a cause over there. And I used to be really quiet. I wouldn't tell anybody I was doing anything. And a member of my board of directors in my first company makes like $8 million a year or something like that. And he comes up to me, and this was another thing that turned a corner for me, is like, so he makes $8 million a year. He happens to hear that I was just in Nigeria, and he goes, Tyler, I really wish you'd tell me about these things that you do because I'd love to help. And that I felt selfish in that moment too, because Tyler can do so much with his resources and his body and things like that. But his friend that has $8 million and all, like, he's connected to mega wealth, how much good can they do? And the answer is a lot of them want to do something, but they're like me. They don't want it wasted, right? It's like, and so that's why I started focusing on media, because then I can show you, like, look, here is a person who's doing good in the world. He's not paying himself $1 million a year as the head of this company. He's in the dirt daily. He has every single one of those kids' names memorized. Yeah. He calls himself the most blessed man in the world because he's rolling in the dirt, helping kids. It's like, that is a man to support. Yes. And that's why I like to film that man, so I can show you too. So my friend that makes $8 million can say, okay, maybe there's a cause worth putting some money into.
Yeah, and you know where it's going.
Yeah.
And I love I know you've shared with me your next project, like what you'd hope to open up. And I don't know if you want to share that, but I know where you teach kids how to create movies and documentary and and
it's funny, like, I'm such a quiet builder, it's like, I'm always been afraid to tell anybody like my lofty aspirations.
Yes,
it's
like,
like,
that's true. And you can keep it for yourself. So whatever feels right. I've decided
this one's going to be different because it's too important. And so I'm actually like, I even like, it's going to be a map that's hung on the wall soon enough, But when I was in college, my undergrad was biochemistry. I invented a product, and that was almost my first business.
It was a sleep aid, right?
I actually did that too.
Okay.
We had a different company. We sold that company years ago.
Okay.
This was different, a different product. I actually never went to market with it. So I thought someday that this will be my like retirement business. And as my life, and this is, so there's a great speech by Steve Jobs, and he basically talks about connecting the dots in life. I didn't love everything about Steve Jobs, by the way. It's like I said, you take things from people, like horrible human being, never helped anybody, charity, didn't want to take care of his daughter, you know, things like that. Great businessman, great business stuff, right? So connecting the dots, and I think about dots in my own life. It's like spending time at the foster shelter, right? Going to the animal shelter and volunteering, having a huge love for kids and animals, developing this product, working as a bartender that in college that worked at a banquet facility. You know, it's like having a degree in biochemistry, working in media and film and that sort of stuff. It's like I'm like thinking about how all these things my life can go together, and eventually I will build a ranch, and the ranch will be a for-profit company, because I actually don't truly believe in charity. I believe in for-profit companies that happen to do good because I don't want to beg money, right? And so basically we'd build the ranch. It would have an animal refuge. It would have a place for age-out foster kids, because it's a really difficult situation where kids turn 18 and they get kicked out of the house. It would have movie production facilities that would be rented from us, and it would produce our product. So you can think a little bit like a vineyard in a way, but slightly different. And so I'm hoping that the ranch is the culmination of my life work at some point.
I love that idea. I really think, and then you're going to be gifting them, all these tools of how to produce and that confidence and in that realm. And it's something that's, for them, that'd be pretty cool to say that they're part of.
It would give them such a chance to, because like I believe in the healing power of animals and kids. I saw it firsthand.
I saw it firsthand. So that's why we have 2 dogs.
and so it's like, so I think there's that component, and then like they'd have to work with veterinary people, and a lot of like, I was almost a vet. My undergrad was biochemistry, and I actually soft applied, and I came really close to being a veterinarian. But after years at the animal shelter, I realized like I love those people, but it's not something I could do daily, and so it's like subjecting people to that sort of stuff. It's like, oh, hey, you want to be a vet? You're going to shadow the vets for a while. What do you think? Oh, okay. You want to go like shadow the movie producers, it's like, see what we're doing over there. The editing team, the production facility, the entrepreneur staff, the kitchen for like creating the meals. It's like, it gives such an opportunity for diversity around like career.
Yes.
That I think there's a tremendous value in that. And then beyond that, like when I've done the business plan is successful on its own. So like it could be an incredibly successful business to do a lot of good. And that's what I believe in. I mean, even with this business, Glaive, any of the businesses I'm involved with now have to have a component of something good that it does.
Good. I like
Otherwise, if it's just the money, don't get me wrong, money's important, right? I don't want to like put that past the episode.
No, but you're saying the drive. You're like, well,
it can be both.
Yes. Yeah, it could be both. Yeah.
I always say, don't do what you love in this world. Do what you hate.
Okay, that's interesting, because a lot of times I'm like, oh no, do something that you're so passionate about.
No, you do something you hate. You find that thing you hate, and then you open a business that solves that problem. Yeah. And I hate the fact that we have such a problem with age out foster youth, right, and foster kids in general. Yeah. I hate the fact that we have like so much around like animal shelters and no place for animals to go in education. I hate the fact that most of the stuff online was harmful to people instead of good for them. Yes. Right. I hated the fact that like somebody like me trying to start a business, there's no great resources for, it's like, so you take things you hate and you open a business that solves it.
I like that. I've kind of used that anger too. The same, if somebody's telling me I can't do it, then it's the same thing. And I have similar, grown up, teachers, because we moved to Vancouver. I didn't know any English. So school obviously was hard. It was just all of a sudden left Quebec City and it was school, so school was hard. So I always thought, oh, well, I'm stupid or I'm not getting good grades and whatnot. But then all of a sudden I go and take chemistry and all this stuff once I'm in college and I'm like, I'm getting straight A's, but also I was also told or shown that communication is not safe. So I actually was very shy. And actually I remember dental hygiene, we're in clinical and one teacher actually did tell me, she's like, you're going to have to work on your communication, because I know you know this stuff. You get straight A's and whatnot, but you need to be confident in communicating it. But because I would hesitate, and especially with men and whatnot, I'd almost like want to dumb it down, and now I definitely don't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not fearful of talking about it. I had to kind of, step in front of the camera, start a podcast, start speaking in front of people, and just, that is my drive too, when somebody's saying, oh, well, you can't do that. You're not very good. You're too shy. You're too this. I'm like, oh, well, now I'm a completely different person,
Sometimes, when you're like, the fear thing is a big thing,
yes,
if you fear something and it's going to be something that's good for the world, you have to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I get asked to go to seminars and speak sometimes. And, like the topic that they like me to talk about is media and that sort of stuff quite often. And I will spend, 30, 40 minutes of an hour just talking about how much this is going to change your life if you get on the camera, right? If you're truly kind-hearted and want to help the world, and you finally approach the fear that it is to get online, it's amazing the change it'll make.
Which actually, I'm so glad you bring that up, because I feel you'd help so many of these authors that I know.
Yeah.
Ultimately, none of them like to be in front of the camera. In fact, they think, I went to Writer's Island documentary series. Most of them were like self-conscious and not sure about it. And they're like, well, how are you doing it now? You've been in front of the social media. I said, you just have to, I said, I never relook at one video. I never re-listen anything, which might not be the right advice, but I get it. I get it. And I think that is that fear that creeps up, like, well, I'm not going to look good. I'm not going to say something correctly. But I mean, if you listen to my first podcast to now, it's not going to be great. I have some friends that give me great feedback, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know. all of us
start there, right? And then it's like, but then like, when I think your life changes with it is when you get that DM in your folder, and it's like, hey, something you said last week is the reason I'm still on this planet today.
Ooh, I get goosebumps because I have gotten those DMs.
And what's that worth? That's worth any bit of pain.
If
you have to reframe it to ask yourself this question. It's like, okay, Tyler, you're going to be uncomfortable being on camera today, and you might say the wrong thing, and you're an ugly dude, so why dare you be on there?
You're
it's
not
like,
an ugly
but it's like, so I can start thinking about all those things about me, right? Yeah. Or I could reframe that and say, Tyler, you're going to brave the camera today because guess what? It's going to help somebody.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And you're going to help people that don't want to be, or so afraid to be in front of camera. I know so many authors that their books, and they're about to be in front of the camera, and they're so afraid. And you as a media guy teaching that, and teaching also the logistics, the background, like there's so much I don't know. And that's why I hired you. Yeah. Because I don't know all the algorithm, when to post it, all of that language. That's why I was like, okay, can you do that for me?
It's funny. My life set me up perfectly for it, and I didn't even realize it, because it's like when you only have $4,000 to open your first business, you don't have any money for marketing, and I got really, really good at all the free stuff in the world. SEO, YouTube, social media, all these different things. It got really, really good at it. Where my company was a company with the Rolling Stones, with Disney, with CNN, like a laundry list of huge clients. It's like we were talked about on the Joe Rogan show. It's like, so it's like all that stuff. Spending less than $1,000 a year on marketing. Wow. Right. And then when you put that into the podcasting world, it worked the exact same way. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I never planned to ever be involved as much as I have been with the studio and the operations here and things like that. My whole heart was going towards my technology company, but I find myself really actively involved because it's so important. Mm-hmm. Bringing people's voices to the world, helping you get past the fear.
Yes. So whenever I have to look at okay, take a deep breath and pretend who are you speaking to, and you really create that visual. And it's that mentorship has really helped me nail down what I'm trying to say. And come from the heart, and instead of like that fear that comes up, the ego that comes up, and how to release that. And so I just have to say thank you. I mean, I think it's been huge to be here and have you mentor me along the way, because I've definitely seen that growth, and you're helping me reach more people.
That currently is my place in the world. Just about anywhere else, you know, it's like I have people that have really good messaging in different ways, you know, and it's like, and I help those people, you know, and so like get their messaging out. And I think that's important. It's like when I would get frustrated because I've got an undergrad in biochemistry and I'm a fitness nut, you know, I have an MBA and I've opened a lot of businesses, you know, it's like when I would look online and I'd see the content online that would hurt you, that would bankrupt you, that, you know, it's like, and here I am just sitting there like, this is horrible, you know. It's like, so that's like a key indicator. Is like we need more good content out there. More good
content, yeah. Yes. So how can people work with you then? Like how to get a hold of you and work with you? I know you have so many different avenues, but
maybe it's something I got to focus on a little bit more this year. It's funny, like I told you, I just gave that, so I'll give the seminars and stuff, and it's like I got probably there was a couple hundred people there. I probably got 150 messages, emails, that sort of stuff. And they're like, we don't even know what you do. You know, it's like, you didn't say once like a company or, you know, anything like that, but I'd like to be involved with whatever you're doing or how to support you or whatever. Yes. So like I'm more support Mel's show, you know, it's like, and all the good she's doing, support our other people that are doing good work in the world. I don't think I've ever once like, dropped, you know, like go to Backlot Studios, you know, it's like, you can, you know, we'd love to have you here if you have a good message. I think it's more important to me that like, if you're interested in what I'm doing at all, you can support me through social media. I am very accessible. There's never a DM that I don't answer, you know, it's like.
Even for your project, right? Your big dream project, you know, maybe somebody's,
you know, and that's why I'm putting that stuff a little bit more out in the world because Tyler can only do so much, you know, and so I'm starting to realize like, if I want to get more done, I've got to be a little bit more vocal about the things that I want to change, you know, and so we're opening more around for our content for good. We're going to start locally. We're going to start working locally a lot more and showcasing local foundations around foster care on the camera. So anybody that wants to volunteer around that stuff, that would be super helpful. We've got some other fun stuff coming up with media. You know, we're launching the documentary this year. We're hoping to film our second episode this year. We've got a really interesting new docudrama about documentary talking about current status of masculinity.
Wow.
And so we're really interested about that.
I'm really interested in that.
One of my key phrases is the world needs more kind-hearted badasses.
Yes.
And so like, obviously it's
help men come back in that masculinity balance, you know,
masculinity, but kind.
Kind. Yes. Yeah. With the heart, leading with the heart instead of fear. Like actually that was my goal for 2026.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I revert back to like, that was the old patterns coming back. When I feel fear, I'm like, well, harden up the heart. I said, release that fear. Just trust that I just know where I'm going. But sometimes, you know, so it's a lot about continuing leading with my heart, which I've done a lot of, you know, and done a lot of things and said yes to. And I'm like, oh, what did I just say yes to?
I think we need to say yes and we need to listen to that heart more. And, you know, it's like, and so, at Tyler Raya is all my tags. You can find out a little bit about what I'm not vocal about the businesses per se, but like the causes and things like that we're involved in definitely am. So
okay, great. Well, I'm so grateful. And thank you for taking the time to be on today. I know you'll reach so many, and I'm just grateful for you, for your mentorship and for the studio. It's been, I love it. I really get excited coming here. I get excited because I know I learned something, but I know people listening are too. And it keeps bringing more and more people that I know needs to be in front of the camera as well.
It's such a cool team sport, you know. It's like that's what I love. It's like we get to win together, you know. And I've been involved with a lot of businesses, and this is the one where you're on a team no matter what, you know. And so like I love because your wins are my wins, and vice versa, you know. And so I love that. I'm honored to have been on the show today. We've had some great conversations over the last year, anyways, and so I hope this was helpful to folks. I'm excited to see where you grow this thing.
Yeah, me too. Let's go.
All right. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.